Communicate non-verbally. When you go into an interview, how will you communicate your competencies? On what basis will the interviewer determine if you are the right person for the job? Do you concentrate primarily on how you answer questions, or do you concern yourself with how you present yourself and the question? Or do you concern yourself with how you present yourself and convey your message? Will the interviewer make decisions based on your responses to questions, or use some other criteria that have little to do with the one you say? Whatever the case, you need to address this question in the process of developing your interview strategy. Consider some important research findings about how we communicate. Studies of the employment process, for example, show that 65 to 70% of a hiring decision may be based on nonverbal communication. This correlates closely with research findings in the field of nonverbal communication. Approximately 65% of communication in most situations take place through nonverbal channels. Moreover, if the verbal and nonverbal messages contradict one another, the nonverbal message is usually seen as more credible than the verbal one. The nonverbal message is viewed as more honest because it is the most difficult to control. Hence the old saying that actions speak louder than words is a truism in the interview. First impression. As noted in Chapter 8, interviewers admit that impressions formed during the first 5 minutes of the interview are seldom changed during the remainder of the interview. In at least 75% of the cases, the basic outcome of the interview has already been determined during those first few minutes. If we ask, how can that be? How can anyone possibly make an important, objective, and informed decision in such a short period of time? The answer is they probably can't. Nonetheless, they openly cite in this manner. Employers concentrate on nonverbal cues because very little verbal information other than small talk has been exchanged in the initial stages of the interview. Being likable. Remember, most people invited to an employment interview have already been screened in. They supposedly possess the basic qualification for the job, such as education and work experience. At this point, employers will look for several qualities in the candidates, such as honesty, credibility, intelligence, competence, enthusiasm, spontaneity, friendliness, and likability. Much of the message communicating these qualities will be conveyed nonverbally. In the end, employers hire people they like and who will interact well on an interpersonal basis with the rest of the staff. Therefore, you should communicate that you are a likable candidate who can get along well with others. You can communicate these messages by engaging in several nonverbal behaviors. Four of the most important ones include important nonverbal behaviors. First, sit with a very slight forward lean toward the interviewer. It should be slight as to be almost imperceptible. If not overdone and obvious, it communicates your interest in what the interviewer is saying. Make eye contact frequently, but don't overdo it. Good eye contact establishes better rapport with the interviewer. You will be perceived as more trustworthy if you look at the interviewer as you ask and answer questions. To say someone has shifty eyes or cannot look us in the eye is to imply they may not completely honest. To have a direct, though moderate, eye gaze conveys interest and trustworthiness. Third, a moderate amount of smiling will also help reinforce your positive image. You should smile enough to convey your positive attitudes, but not so much that you will not be taken seriously. Some people naturally smile often, and others hardly ever smile. Monitor your behavior or ask a friend to give you honest feedback. Fourth, try to convey interest and enthusiasm through your vocal inflection. Your tone of voice can say a lot about you and how interested you are in an interview and organization.